Looking to buy a house in Florida, but you're not quite ready to buy yet. Did you know that there are rent-to-own options or lease-to-own options? In this video, we're going to talk about how some of the rent-to-own programs work. I've actually had experience with some of the rent-to-own programs, so I know what the process is like. So stay tuned so you can watch how the process works. And if you find this video useful, drop a like on the video and drop a comment below, and let's start the process. My name is Jodenny Ogando. I'm a Central Florida Realtor. On this channel, we explore all things real estate. So if that sounds beneficial to you, consider subscribing, dropping a like, dropping a comment, share this video with somebody, and let's dive right in. So when you're buying a house, you buy a house through financing or cash or different ways that you could buy a house. Sometimes you may not be ready to buy a house, or you may not be ready to commit, even though you may be financially ready. So there's rent-to-own options out there. And there's a few programs out there. Some of the ones that I've used is Home Partners of America. And then we have a few clients signed up with Divvy Homes as well. There's a few more out there as well. What I like about some of these programs is they do a credit check, and they could tell you right away, usually sometimes it's instant, sometimes it takes about a day or two if they got to collect documents, but they'll be able to tell you if you qualify or not, and the max purchase price you qualify for. When you're buying a house, they look at debt to income ratios to make sure you can afford it. The rent-to-own companies usually do the same things as well to make sure you can comfortably afford it. What's very interesting about rent-to-own versus just renting is that when you're doing rent-to-own, you're actually shopping with houses that are for sale. And that does make a difference. Let's say you're looking at a beat up old rental in the price point of whatever, and you're going to find similar rentals that are just like used and abused versus rent to own. It changes because you're actually looking for homes that are for sale. Because what happens is the rent to own company is actually going to buy the house cash and lease it back to you. So while you may be looking for old, used, and abused rentals that keep getting switched off every year, the smart consumer that calls me and sets up a rent-to-own plan is looking at nicer homes, renovated homes, homes with sellers in them that sometimes may take more care of their homes than tenants, and those are the homes that we're shopping for. We're not using the rent-to-own option to go acquire a house that's just going to be rented, right? We're using the rent-to-own option to acquire a property that's currently for sale, and that might make a difference in let's say the quality of the home that you're buying. Now, with the two different programs that I've tried, one of them just puts together a rental amount of what you have to pay, and they'll give you 3 to 5 years to basically acquire a mortgage to buy it back from them. But the other company is a little bit more strategic. The other one also builds in a savings account to help you put together your down payment and closing costs so when the time is right for you to buy. I think that's a really good approach. Although I have seen it scare off some of my customers because they see the number being higher and they just don't really understand that makes a lot of sense, because don't you want to eventually buy a home? When do you think the time's going to come to save that money, if not every month? So depending on if you want the lower monthly payment, I have one program. Depending on if you want the monthly payment that also is going to include savings for your potential purchase, I have a different program for that. What's even crazier is for you to buy a home, you can go as low as $500, but then you'd have to have like 10% down, reserves, and a whole bunch of points you have to pay up front. It's going to be very, very expensive. But for you to buy a home with, let's say, 3.5% down or less, you kind of start at 580 credit score. With the rent-to-own program, they start at 550. So if you're challenged with credit right now, for example, this program is going to help you starting at 550. There are some rentals out there you can't even get into with 550. You have to be like in the sixes. So imagine being told no to an old beat up rental, but being told maybe or yes to a house that's possibly renovated and the seller's trying to sell it to move on to the next chapter of their lives. So I think this rent-to-own program is also good for people with challenging credit because they go as low as 550. So I send you a link to apply for the program, and if they approve you, then basically they assign me as your real estate agent to help you with the search. So me or someone on my team will then send you properties. Then what ends up happening is we put offers on the property after you choose one that you like that's, eligible for the rent-to-own program, they have like their list of eligibility things on their website as well. And I could send you that if you ask me for it. And then we basically put an offer on the property, except the offer is not coming with your name on it, because remember, it's the company buying the house and then they're going to lease it back to you. As far as like the process goes, once we're under contract, I remember that when we locked the contract in, they got a home inspection and they were kind of tedious about some of the repair costs and stuff. And they were really going back and forth with the seller, you know, to make sure that that gets addressed. And they either asked for like a discount and then they sent their own people to fix it, or they asked for the seller to address some of the things. So they essentially are looking out for you because they're not trying to kill the deal. They just don't want to put you in a house that's going to need too much work. So that was pretty awesome that they were like really like a little difficult, because they were really trying to negotiate it. And also the price that they came up with their offer, they did a bunch of research. They didn't just offer the seller the market price, but they also didn't offer them like a super low ball offer either. It was like a very calculated price based on comps in the area. The actual process, I remember, took about 30 to 45 days. And then after the sale is closed, it takes about a week or two turnaround time to get you into the property. So this is not going to be the option for you if you're looking to move like next week. This is going to be the option for someone who has maybe 4 to 8 weeks. I guess the best part about it is they'll sign a 1-year lease with the option for you to buy the home back from them. And if you were to, let's say, not want to renew the lease, you have the option to walk away without a penalty, which is pretty awesome, because after 2 or 3 years, it's just like, oh, this is not the neighborhood for me or whatever, and you don't have to actually buy the home. So that's kind of like a low risk situation that you would be in my opinion. And just to give you some math on the actual savings account that they offer, it says here on the website that with the actual monthly payments, they attach enough savings that's going to equate to 10% of the purchase price in about 3 years or even sooner. And just to put that into perspective, when you're buying a home, there's down payment and closing costs. And if you go with like a FHA loan, which is like a first time home buyer loan, the down payment could be 3.5%. Closing costs could be around 4%. So could you imagine that you got this company buying the house for you cash, and then they're helping you create the savings account that's gonna, you know, save up to 10% when you possibly need only 7.5 to 8% in order to actually buy the house. So I think that they're equipping you, you know, strategically with the option to be able to buy the home. And the awesome thing is you're already going to be living in the home that you wanted. And I think this is also one of the best parts. Let's say you just started a business or you just started a job somewhere. A lot of lenders are really picky about trying to qualify you for the next 30 years based on your last 24 months. So some of these programs actually just look at the last 90 days. So if you just started a new job, or if you just like started a business or something, the program looks at your home shopping budget based on your last 90 days, which makes this an amazing option for someone who just started a new career or something. I've submitted a lot of offers in over 5 to 6 years. We've closed hundreds of homes. And in a lot of scenarios, you know, this company being a cash buying company, in a lot of scenarios, sellers usually favor the cash buyer over the finance buyer. This could be also a strategy to get your offer accepted in a competitive market versus other buyers who might be putting offers in with financing. You're getting in here through a cash offer technically, and then you turn around in a year, 2 or 3, and you basically buy it back with a loan going through a lender, but there's no competition at that point because you're already in the home and the home was basically set aside for you. Lastly, some of the things that they look for are a minimum FICO score of 550, minimum household income of $2,500, employment history for the last 3 months. They're going to look at your debt to income ratios. They want to make sure that you have enough income left over every month to actually take on a mortgage because they don't want you to be broke. And then they're going to look at the background check and a valid government issue photo ID. If you're interested in getting more information or, you know, me sending you the email to apply for one of the rent-to-own programs, just feel free to contact me. My information will be somewhere on the screen, also somewhere down in the description. And if you found any value in this video, consider subscribing to this channel, drop a like on the video, and just reach out to me if you need help buying a home.